What's up, nerds? Welcome to today's news roundup. We've got some stuff to talk about, Marvel news, some DC news, and there's a common thread, and that thread is delays. Lots and lots of delays. So start talking about Marvel here. Black Widow delayed again.
She's a horrible spy.
She really is. She can't even get past COVID.
You didn't get no intel on this?
Right? Should have gone undercover. A real spy would have been wearing like a Dr. Fauci mask and you could have gotten around all this.
Exactly.
I think, where do we go from here with Black Widow, dude? Does it even matter anymore?
I don't know. I mean, there's going to be nothing worse than the idea that if this movie is a flop and we waited this long for it, if it's another Wonder Woman. I mean, I don't see it happening, but I think that this movie was supposed to be just like a fun way to fill in the gap between the new phase starting.
Right.
And at this point, it's just like release it on Disney Plus. I mean,
yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that it was supposed to, it's like it's a standalone with some, obviously there's going to be some connections, but I felt like this movie was supposed to be like, kind of a final farewell to, Scarlett Johansson's character, and to kind of bring things into the next era, and just kind of give us a fun Marvel film in between all this other stuff. It was like a palate cleanser. But now, instead of cleansing our palates, it's leaving a terrible taste in our mouths because they keep telling us it's coming out and then it's not.
Yeah. Which means that Eternals is going to get pushed, and which means that Shang-Chi is going to get pushed, which means, it's just nonstop. And at this point, it's just one of those things like, you got to poop or get off the pot.
The one thing about this film that I think will hopefully prevent other films like Eternals from getting pushed back as well is, I don't know how connected it is in a way that would affect like the progression of the MCU.
Yeah.
Because it takes place in the past, it seems like it's going to, probably have connections, but not like vital ones where it's like, oh, this is what's happening from here on out in the MCU. You know what I mean?
But will it possibly push back Disney Plus series? Because we do know that there's characters from this movie that are going to make it into the Disney Plus shows.
Right. I would assume Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to have some nods to some of the characters that are on.
And so is Hawkeye.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I keep forgetting about Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't. It's going to be great. Delays, man.
Tell you, man.
Further delays in the Sony arm of the MCU. Spider-Man stuff. Morbius getting pushed back until at least 2022. And the word on the street is that Morbius is a piece of connective tissue to what happens in Spider-Man 3. And so people are afraid that might delay Spider-Man 3 now.
Yeah, and which makes sense because you figure that some of the leaked photos we've seen of Morbius shows the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So obviously that the impression is given that he takes place in the Tobey Maguire's universe, not in ours.
Right. And it seems like there's going to be some kind of a multiverse bleed over there because we also see Michael Keaton's version of Adrian Toomes, a.k.a. the Vulture, interacting with Jared Leto's Michael Morbius.
Yeah.
So if we're seeing the Tobey Spider-Man and we're seeing the Michael Keaton Vulture, those are two different realities. And that means that there had to have been some kind of a convergence. I don't know. Are they diverging or are they converging? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, not me, math.
So we have to assume that there's some connection. And then even going out further, what does that mean for Venom 2? The what is it called? Rise of Carnage, or Carnage is.
See, now I saw that was still supposed to be coming out at its planned time. So
yeah.
I also noticed that Elizabeth Olsen had made it a point to say that she possibly may be in Spider-Man 3, which leads me to believe that some of the events that will end up happening in the course of WandaVision causes the breakdown of the multiverse, where this is the reason why characters are bleeding into other universes.
Right. Ever since we got the news that Doctor Strange was called the Multiverse of Madness, all the speculation has been, running rampant. It seems like in the planning phases of this, before we had to deal with a world, on COVID, it seemed like Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange, and WandaVision were all going to be interconnected in some way in kind of bringing in new characters, expanding what the MCU means. And that's all very up in the air now.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
But, I mean, they'll make it work. They'll make it work. Speaking of Spider-Man 3, I saw a rumor online that Spider-Man 3 and 4 are being shot back to back, which if there's a lot of delays, I don't even know how they're going to approach that. They're not even ready to do Spider-Man 3 the right way with all of these delays. So how are they even going to get into Spider-Man 4?
Well, luckily though, which might be the reason why they're doing it, Spider-Man 3 has not been delayed in filming. They've continued to be filming since they've started because of that whole idea of them staying on the lot. They don't leave.
Tyler Perry's lot in Atlanta.
Yeah. And so there's a good chance that there's a portion that that they could just go ahead and just push right through. If they have the script done enough, I mean, it makes sense.
I would like to officially start a petition to rename those studios Medea Mountain. Hello.
House that Medea built.
She should get a cameo.
Yeah, she may. You never know. In the same realm with the Spider-Man, Charlie Cox has been rumored to have finished filming his scenes for the Spider-Man 3, and they're saying that within the movie, it's a soft reboot of the Daredevil character. That everything will remain the same from the Daredevil portion of the show. So Kingpin is still in existence, Karen, all the Froggy, none of that has changed. The only thing that is going to be changing from it is that there will be no mention of the Defenders.
I think that there's not enough crossover from the Netflix series where that would affect that in any way. Daredevil stands just fine on its own.
Really, I don't know. Was there that much at all in Daredevil? Maybe. I mean, a lot of Daredevil characters made it onto the other three, the other three series, but it wasn't really any of them bleeding into each other's shows.
Right.
So
I think of the five main individual characters that got their own shows, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Punisher. They all pretty much could stand on their own without connecting them to the other members of the Defenders or the other shows that were on Netflix. But Daredevil definitely stands completely on its own. They don't need to connect it to anything else, and I think that's a really wise decision to kind of keep what happened from the Netflix series and build upon it, because it was a great show.
I just hope that this doesn't mean because they're not going to go with the Defenders portion of it, that we don't get to see Elektra, because I thought they actually did a good job with the casting of Elektra on the series.
Yeah, and I think that they could retcon her into it, and work around any of the stuff that happened with her in Defenders. I think that people have a short enough memory and are flexible enough, to do that, or they could just do some weird multiverse stuff and get around it that way.
Jennifer
they're probably going to do that a lot, although I would love it if they have the whole multiverse thing going on and we have Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I want to see Ben Affleck in the Daredevil costume. Just like in the background, getting a coffee or something.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else Marvel related? I don't have anything else Marvel related on my notes.
The only other one that I have is the not Spider-Man Marvel related, but they are, for the comic books, which we don't really talk a whole lot about comic books, but they are doing the Heroes Reborn storyline again. And for the people who don't remember the original Heroes Reborn, there was a huge battle that was across pretty much every title of Marvel owned at the time against a character named Onslaught, which was a creation of Charles Xavier. And basically at the very end, the only way they were able to kill Onslaught was by the Fantastic Four sacrificing themselves to get rid of him. And but you find out later on that their son, Franklin, he creates a whole universe, like a self-sustained universe, and puts his family in there, so they actually did survive. So I actually think that they could possibly be doing that so that they can kind of retcon a lot of the stuff that's gone on in the movies and everything else, so that they can utilize. I think a lot of the moves that they've been making in the comic books lately is to try to figure out a way to make it easier to explain to the movie audience. Because let's face it, a lot of people who watch the movies have never picked up a book in their life. Well,
Right.
Well, that's probably true too, but definitely not a comic book. And so, it's an easy way to explain. Oh, well, this is the reason why you didn't know that these people existed.
Right. Which, two things. Onslaught was one of the coolest looking villains in comic book history. I used to have this Onslaught action figure. I loved it. It was one of my favorites. Anyway, this idea that we can look to the comic books and kind of crystal ball what's going to happen in the MCU in the future, I think it holds a lot of weight. I think it's very valid. When you look back to the Ultimates, when the Ultimates first happened, people were all up in arms like, Nick Fury is a completely different guy, right? Yeah. And he kind of looks like Samuel L. Jackson. What is going on with this?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, guys? It's because they had Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick freaking Fury in the movies. So I think that they do this a lot. And I think when you see something new sort of happen, you have to assume that, that the planning is in place, that is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good source for us to look at. Yeah.
Yeah. My other
going on in here.
No, my gosh, you're off. You need to fire your office staff.
Shield headquarters is under attack.
The other one I had was that people actually spoke to Kevin Feige about, or Feige, I don't even know how they say it, but whatever, about WandaVision. And he did make mention of how big Wanda's family actually is, which then, of course, got people to start speculating and wanting to know, well, is Magneto going to be in there? How about Quicksilver? And basically he said every character, let me make sure I actually say it right. He said, there are other characters in other episodes of this show. Who they are or what they are not worth discussing right now, which means that, what a lot of us might be believing about what's going on is that, this is a way to introduce new characters. And that's what we're supposed to be watching for. It's like, oh, this person could be the Agatha and the, Monica Rambeau, and these new characters are going to be introduced. So there is a good chance we're going to maybe start seeing some mutants other than the children coming in.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that they've already tapped both Quicksilvers to be involved. So it's just a matter of time, I think. By the way, if you haven't checked out the WandaVision related content on our channel, please do. We are way into this show and we've talked about it multiple times. And we will every week, every Friday.
Bombard you.
That's right.
We're here to make you think.
That's right. All right. Switching universes. Let's talk DC for a few minutes here. We talked a lot about Wonder Woman on a previous show. For a really long time, we talked about Wonder Woman, which is fitting because that movie was effing interminable. It never ended. Anyway, not a ton of DC film news these days, but there is a lot of chatter out about the television properties, the Arrowverse specifically, which I wonder if we should still call it the Arrowverse since there's no Green Arrow anymore.
Yeah.
But there's stuff going on there. They're kind of pivoting and repositioning themselves. A lot of these heroes from the Arrowverse that got it started are either gone or they're winding their way down. Arrow, of course, is off the air. Flash seems to still be going strong, although it can't go on forever. I mean, how many friggin' speedsters can there be? Yeah. Supergirl is done, and Black Lightning is done, right? So they did this big crossover event where they basically formed the Justice League of the CW, and they had their table with their logos and everything on it. And most of those people are gone, right? So now we've got Stargirl, which is kind of forgettable to me. I always forget it exists. Flash, which, I guess that's their flagship now, but they are pushing a lot toward Superman and Lois. New trailer for Superman and Lois was released. Looks pretty good.
I thought it looked, really well done for a CW show.
Right.
Very out of the norm of what you would consider to be a Superman story.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of funny. There must be a time jump of some sort because they have teenage kids. Superman and Lois have teenage kids. From the trailer, it appears they've moved back out to the Kent farm, and they're just trying to live a quiet life. There's a funny line in the trailer where Clark is like, "It's times like this, I wish I could get drunk."
Yeah.
They appear to be kind of, trying to stay away from the whole idea of him being Superman, and then his kids discover he was Superman. It's a whole thing. Anyway, looked very cinematic. It did not look like a TV show.
Yeah.
It looks like they're putting a lot of money into this show, at least on the production end.
Yeah, at least for the 40 seconds of the trailer.
Right.
The one scene that I thought was really well done is when he's actually flying up in space. I thought it was well done.
Yeah, it looks good. They got their special effects budget on point. It looks like Superman and Lois is probably from here on out going to sort of either be the flagship show or kind of share that title with Flash. Batwoman, second season just started with is her name Javicia Leslie?
Sure.
The new Batwoman.
I'm not here to bring up people's names.
Ruby Rose obviously departed the show after season 1, and Javicia Leslie is playing this new version of Batwoman who, from what I understand, has absolutely no connection to Bruce Wayne in any way whatsoever. I haven't watched the premiere. I plan to, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And apparently neither have a lot of other people, because it was the third lowest rated episode of Batgirl to this point, trailing only behind a couple of episodes from the first season. There's a couple of issues at play here, I think, right? I think a lot of people are not really that accepting of such a drastically different character. And I think you know what I'm alluding to. Mm-hmm. And also, I think, of course, there's a lot of people that are like, that's not Batgirl, I'm not watching this. But then I feel like Batgirl just has suffered from bad writing, bad acting, and bad storyline direction the whole show. It's never really clicked with me.
I think that I would like to see when the two other lowest rated show episodes were they towards the end of the series, were they already losing their audience before she ever left. So right. Because of that, that's a really tall, hill to climb, to try to get a whole new person cast in, try to tell a similar story of what was already going on and explain the reason why now she's Batwoman, and you've already lost half your audience before you ever got to the door. You know what I mean? Right. And a lot of people out there are very fixated on the idea that these imaginary characters have to look exactly the same as they were on the paper, but they're
right.
fake. They're fake people.
Right.
So they could be played by anybody. Yes. And so I also understand though too, especially being a POC myself.
I'm a POS.
Yeah. Stupid. That it's important to see people of color on the screen, but sure. A lot of us would prefer the idea that you create new people of color in these universes rather than be like, oh, Johnny, Storm is now black.
Right.
It's not the story. Just,
right.
If it's a character that was maybe a small bit character in the comic book that nobody would notice, and you want to make it a huge character in the movies, and you want I'm going to go ahead and change this person to a Middle Eastern actress. Okay, right. Nobody's going to pay attention to that because there's not enough story for people to really have connected to. But if you really want to be making characters to really speak to people and get an audience out there, create new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Or explain it better for the reason why you're changing it up.
I think the perfect sort of character to point to, and I'm jumping back to Marvel now, but the perfect character for me to kind of represent that idea that you're saying is Ms. Marvel, because Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel, right,
Yeah.
for years and years. But Kamala Khan, who is now Miss Marvel, is such a different character.
Yeah.
She has such a different backstory, even though she's called Ms. Marvel. The difference between Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan is as stark as the difference between Peter Parker and Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Even though Miles Morales is Spider-Man, he is a different character with a totally different backstory.
Yeah.
And, that's why there's been such a buy-in. I'm wearing a hoodie over it, but I'm wearing a Miles Morales t-shirt right now. I didn't grow up with Miles Morales, but the character speaks to me because it's a different take on the Spider-Man character. And that's one of the reasons why I love Ms. Marvel, the Kamala Khan version of Ms. Marvel. They didn't just say, "Oh, Peter Parker's black now."
Yeah.
They said, "No, this is Miles Morales. He's he's black and Latino, and he's going to be a totally different person who just so happens to do some of the Spider-Man-ish things."
Yeah.
Right.
And they deserve their own story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that there have been times in history of comic related TV and movies where they've recasted with a person of color and they've done well, but that's because they didn't play into the idea that they're still the same character. Like, right. Going from Julie Newmar to Eartha Kitt, you know what I mean? Like, it's both successful Catwomans. They weren't playing the same Catwoman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Batwoman, I bet you had they just been like, okay, that first season was a standalone season. We're not even going to acknowledge anything that happened that first season. We're going to reboot it, a soft reboot with this new character. Probably would have went over a lot better than being like, oh no, she's going to keep all the characteristics and look of the costume and everything that the first one had, except for now she has curly hair instead of straight hair. Oh, we're good.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I haven't watched the premiere, so I don't know how they approach it exactly. But the fact that she's not connected to Bruce Wayne, the fact that she's, her own kind of character, like that should give people a little bit of desire to see where it comes from and see where it goes. Unfortunately, I just think that Batwoman is a weak show. Yeah, and I think it's been a weak show.
I think Ruby Rose was horrible. I don't think she's a good actress. I've seen her in plenty of stuff, and I think she is the Kristen Stewart of acting, like for TV. She's not good.
Yeah, I just, they lost me on Batgirl pretty quickly, and I'm willing to watch some pretty bad TV.
Yeah,
and it was just like, come on, really? But it remains to be seen going forward what happens with the Arrowverse, aka the DC TV universe. We've got Superman and Lois, The Flash, Stargirl, Batwoman, and I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because we're not getting Green Arrow and the Canaries anymore. Supergirl's done. Black Lightning's done. Arrow has been off for a while. I just realized that I'm sad about something. Martian Manhunter, where's he going to go when Supergirl's gone? What's going to happen to him? He's like my favorite character on the Arrowverse.
Is Legends of Tomorrow over with, or is this
Legends of Tomorrow? Thank you. Yes. How could I forget it? Oh, I remember, because it's good.
Yeah.
I didn't lump it in with the others. Yeah. Oh yeah. Legends of Tomorrow is great. I hope that sticks around for a long time.
Well, I know you particularly like Titans, and
yes,
I know they had some news going out.
That's right. Yeah, moving away from the CW version of what's going on in DC TV. Titans, one of my very favorite superhero shows, is still working on getting season 3 out, and they have cast their Barbara Gordon, aka Batwoman, aka or Batgirl. I think, is she Batgirl? Batgirl. And she also played a character called Oracle. She took on the role of a character called Oracle, which was basically Batman's version of Overwatch for Arrow in the TV show, for those of you that aren't familiar. And she has a similar fighting style to Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. And in the show, they're going to explore their backstory, romantic history, how they are so similar in their fighting styles and so forth. Probably going to go back into their history with Batman, whatever. Character is going to be played by someone called Savannah Welch, who, from what I've been told, is she's an amputee. Is that right? She
Yes.
got one leg.
Yeah, she got one leg.
So I wonder, is that going to be played into on the show?
Yeah, maybe Joker shot her in the leg. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, in the comic books, Barbara Gordon is in a wheelchair. So, I mean, I know that eventually she ends up, I think, figuring out a way that they are able to get her to be able to fight again, if I remember right. But yeah, I do know that from the pictures I've seen, it seems like she's rocking a robot leg. I don't know how to say it in any different way.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they play. I'm sure they'll. It seems like that would be something they would play into.
I think it's great. Why not give it give and take? This is what we're talking about. Use the source material you have. If you change it up just a little bit, it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah. The Barbara Gordon in the famous story, The Killing Joke, ends up being shot in the stomach by the Joker and becomes paralyzed.
Yeah.
So they could definitely do a play on that. Be great to watch. Who knows when Titans is even going to come back? It seems like it's taking forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like it's a little bit more well produced, so maybe it takes longer to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some concept art for Starfire's updated look.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. What's going on out there in the nerd sphere that's interesting to you? What's happening in Marvel? What do you hope happens in Marvel? What's going on with the Arrowverse? Do you care? What do you want to happen with the Arrowverse? Anything? Do you want it to vanish?
Yeah.
That's all the news we have today. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Them Nerds. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow us on social media at We Them Nerds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and interact with our posts so you can win stuff, free stuff. Who doesn't want to win free stuff?
Everybody likes free things.
That's right. All right, guys, be good. Be good to each other. Bye.